Good evening, everyone. Welcome to second edition today for Iowa Pagan News on the Prairie Land Radio Network. And this evening, we are joined by my good friend Byron Ballard, who is a independent forensic folklorist. Uh, she is a dilettante on medievalist. I'll tell you what, she can be what was the old term? Uh, Shoot, I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but kind of a jack of all trades, basically. Put it that
Ah,
way.
I like to say that I'm a bon vivant witch about town.
There you go.
Hey, Earl, it's so good to see you.
I'm glad to have you back on the show, and gives us a chance to get caught up a little bit from our talk that we had last year. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
After I had to take a hiatus for a while, uh, getting back in the swing of things. Um, so tell me a little bit about what you've had going on since the last time we talked.
Whoa, well, that's a lot of stuff. I think the last time we talked, I had two books about to come out.
Hmm.
And the first one came out February of last year from Llewellyn, and it's called Roots, Branches, and Spirits. And it's all about Appalachian magic and folkways. And the second book is from Wiser. See, I'm double dipping. Ooh. Came out from Wiser at the beginning of August, and it's called Seasons of a Magical Life. And both of them, I am grateful to tell you, have been bestsellers. They're just getting out like hotcakes. So those two things kept me busy. Plus, I did a surprising number of festivals last year.
Hmm.
And we're looking down now. You and I in the pre-show talked about this a little bit. We're looking at a big festival season this year, and unless we get hit, and I'm gonna knock on wood, real wood, knock on wood, unless we get hit with another monster variant of this dead blame disease, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people that I haven't seen in a couple of years.
Yeah, so am I. Like I said, when we were talking before we went live, that um, I've had several people inquire with me about coming to festival, and it's like I am trying to get myself back into shape and get my mobility back so that I can attend festivals this year, and that's something that I want to be able to do. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I
Oh, I'm so glad. I know you and I were talking about that we were going to see each other at Three Gates last year,
right,
and
yep,
then the festival happened, but you did not.
yeah, that's when my world got turned upside down,
Yeah.
and I'm it really I felt horrible about because when Three Gates was happening, that's when I landed in the hospital.
That's right. That's right. Because we mentioned you at the festival, wondering how you were doing, checking up on you. You know how we do.
Yep. And so I'm going to be pushing myself to get to back to the point where I will be able to attend.
Good. Good. And are you going to get yourself? I seem to remember a Facebook post about getting a some kind of van or a camper to travel with.
Yes, I am going to be looking into getting an RV
Nice.
because they've got they actually have a modification that has come out now to where it's a chairlift that basically will operate from the side door of a camper. It's like a chairlift,
Yeah.
and uh, I ran across that just not too long ago. It's like perfect. It's like that's basically what I'm going to look into once I can get an RV because that's going to
Nice.
help.
And y'all, if you see my head bobbing up and down, I'm knitting while we talk. So sometimes I'm looking down to make sure I didn't just drop that stitch.
Uh-huh. You're good at multitasking.
I am pretty good at it. But there comes a point with me where I get really, we talked in the pre-show, y'all, and I accused Earl of being stubborn, which any of you who know Earl know that that is absolutely the truth. But I'm as stubborn as you are because sometimes I just want to see a job through to completion. I
Right.
want to start it, I want to get it done. Because for many years, I had the track record. I'm a Pisces, and I'm really good at starting a project, but I'm not always good at finishing a project. So anytime I have to stop something in the middle, I worry that I'll never pick it back up again and it'll never get done. So I'm kind of weirdly obsessive about some things. I just want to start it, I want to get it done, and I don't want to stop in the middle and do
Hmm.
anything, really. I just want to get it finished to make sure it does get finished.
Right. Same way with me with pushing myself to get back into the swing of things here and getting back to doing what I love doing, which is connecting with everybody this way. Um, it's I just I felt like I was taking too long of a hiatus, and it's like I had to get back to it.
But
So
healing takes as long as it takes.
right.
And it's the same with grief. We were talking about this on our podcast this week, is that we have this thing about both grief and healing. It's like people probably thought, well, he's out of the hospital, he should be fine. But there's a process with healing, just like there is with grief, and it takes as long as it takes. And you can push it, and I think you're really smart to work on getting healthy.
Hmm.
But but it's sad that we can't literally wave our magic wands and make that happen faster.
Yeah. Well, when I got out of the hospital, I was in decent shape. But then after being here at home a while, I started going back downhill again. And I had to go through a second round of in home care.
I
Uh,
remember that.
and I am just now back to regaining some mobility, which makes me feel good.
Good, good. I've got a couple of friends who have long COVID. Well, more than a couple, really, but two that I'm very close to. And that it's the same kind of thing where they'll feel really good and then they relapse. And
Hmm.
then they're good for a little while and then they relapse. And every time they relapse, it doesn't get back as far as it was, but it
Right.
still means that they have to basically start from scratch and
Right.
build back to where they were. So I feel ya, and I feel for them because we just don't know. We don't know enough about this virus, do we?
Nope, we sure don't. And the one thing that the one thing that I have to do is that what I promised to do down at Three Gates was do a um, basically it's going to be emergency prep 101, and it's going to be a class on um, how folks can be prepared for any type of situation that can possibly occur at festival, whether it be minor things on up to a major emergency. And I mean, those things can happen. I've known stuff like that to happen at festivals, especially that 1 year PSG got completely flooded out, and people were having to help each other get out of the area.
Yep.
And I have, when that occurred, I heard what was happening. It was like my heart sank, and it was like
Yeah.
I wanted to help them so bad, and but I couldn't get down there.
Well, I wrote a book in 2018 called Earthworks: Ceremonies in Tower Time. And one of the things I talk about in that book is how important it is for all of us in the pagan communities, pagan heathen umbrella communities, to really think about the fact that in a disaster, the first responders are the people who are the victims. So it behooves you to figure out what sort of disaster could happen where you are. Are you in a low lying area? Are you in an area that's tornado prone? I remember the first year I went to PSG, someone came racing through the camp yelling, "Get to low ground, get to low ground." Well, it was all as flat as anything. I mean, I live in the mountains. Getting to low ground, I know how to do that. But I was just standing there like, well, what the hell does low ground look like? And somebody literally grabbed me by my upper arm and said, we're going to the ditch. And we all went flat out in a ditch, and that was low ground. So I think that would be such a valuable class for you to offer. And there's really basic stuff that a lot of people don't know, like basic first aid. And I recommend to pagans all the time, you figure out who in your community is offering a basic first aid, and they are almost always free.
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead and take that. And don't be the person who said, "Oh yeah, I was going to do that, but I never got around to doing it." Just take it. We need you.
Right.
And
And his,
and go to the festival and pack a basic first aid kit. I've gone to too many tiny little festivals, and I will rub a blister on my heel because I'm dancing around the fire with the wrong shoes or whatever the heck stupid thing I'm doing. And there have been festivals that did not have a band-aid. They didn't have a band-aid. And they said, "Well, just go around the camp and somebody will have a band-aid." Unacceptable. So
right.
now I always have a basic first aid kit with me. Always.
And that's also the reason why I encourage festivals to have a first aid tent set up, fully prepared with personnel who know what they're doing and to be able and to be there to help people.
Yeah.
That's his. A lot of people don't know this, but I served my hometown as a volunteer EMT for 3 years. Plus, I'm still a current first responder. So that's the whole reason why I had promised Three Gates that I would do this class. And I even have, um, I even put together a fully stocked kit to give away to somebody,
Oh, that's a great idea.
and also giving people ideas on how they can put together their own kits to carry with them. Because no matter where I go, I have a fully stocked what I call a jump kit. It's force of habit from my EMT days. I still carry a fully stocked jump kit to where I can handle pretty much any situation at any festival. Right down to, well, okay, knock on wood. I've never had to do this yet, but right down to basically childbirth. It's like I've never had to do it yet, but uh, yeah.
I tell you, most of the festivals you go to, there's going to be a ton of midwives there, so you probably won't ever have to deal with the childbirth thing.
Okay. Good.
I often present at herbal conferences, and a lot of times they're women only herbal conferences, and we're just filthy with midwives. They're everywhere, midwives and herbalists. So there'll be like a standard sort of med tent, and you go into the med tent, and yes, you can get a band-aid and all that stuff, but you also can get tinctures and salves and all that. So it's that lovely thing. I always think of myself as a belt and suspenders kind of magic worker.
Hmm.
There's that wonderful phrase, "Trust Allah, but tie your camel." And
Yeah,
I think
right.
we have to do that as magic workers and have a little grain of common sense if we can.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. You and I are so much alike there, dear.
Hey, have you heard from Alfred? Is Three Gates happening this year?
I have not had a chance to talk with him yet. In fact, I've not really even heard any announcements yet.
No, me
So,
either. I think a
uh,
lot of people are kind of waiting to see what this variant's going to do.
yep. Uh, In fact, I just got done talking with Livia over in London, and she said that they've got hit so hard that their whole area has been shut down again.
Ugh. Well, I
And
am theoretically heading for Scotland and Yorkshire in September. So I've got my
mm,
fingers crossed about that.
cool. Yeah, it's like one of these days I am gonna get over there because you would not believe the amount of invites I have had to go over there over the years.
Oh, I
And
believe it. I was doing field research in the borders, the English Scots borders, and was going to spend just a couple of days in Edinburgh. And John Beckett was going to be there. I saw John Beckett, but as it happened, the Scottish Pagan Federation was having their annual conference, and I just contacted them and said, "Well, I don't know, could I come and deliver a paper?" And they were like, "Well, I guess, but we can't pay you to fly you over here." And I went, "Oh, that's not a problem. I'm going to be in Edinburgh anyway." So that was a lot of fun, and it was just a fluke because I happened to be for once in the right place at the right time.
cool, very cool. Well, let's see now. So how many books have you put out since last year?
Two,
Okay.
there's a couple that I'm working on, and I'm working on an, a musical adaptation of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Because
Hmm.
what a lot of people don't know is that I began my writing life as a playwright. So I did a ton of adaptations of literary works for the stage. I did a lot of original uh, uh, things, a lot of original plays based on my family history and
Mm-hmm.
on Appalachian folklore. So, so it's not so weird that I'm doing an adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream, but I am, and I'm working on a sociological treatise about Appalachia.
Nice. Very cool. Um, yeah, because last year at this time when we had talked, we were talking about the book at that time, which was Roots, Branches, and Spirits.
Yep, that
Um,
came out in February, and it was sold out on the day it launched. I am proud to say.
yep, and that is a fantastic book.
Is it? Do you think so? Thank you.
Yes, it is. In fact, that's the whole reason why I grabbed a hold of that book is I wanted to have that in my collection, and it is chock full of really good information and stories, and I really like it.
It was the first time I'd written ghost stories, and that was a lot of fun. So, in my, you know, all writers have a list of things they'd love to get around to. But one of the things I would really love to do is a book of ghost stories.
Hmm. Well, and there are plenty to go around in that area.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
'Cause I shoot, I hear numerous things about numerous stories coming out of the Appalachia area, and it's like even the stories told in music.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the Appalachian chain is huge.
Hmm.
It's a long mountain chain, and there are a lot of different cultures that are Appalachian cultures. So yeah, from northern Georgia all the way up into Canada, there's lots and lots of stories.
Mm.
And the other thing I'd like to do is write a cookbook because I
Hmm.
love food and I love to eat.
Well, then you definitely have a one up on a lot of people for Appalachian recipes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Uh, Even there are a few that I wouldn't mind trying myself.
Well, if we're ever in the same place at the same time with a kitchen, I'll make you some cornbread and all kinds of stuff. I'm not a bad cook.
I will definitely take you up on that, dear. I'll tell you what, the one area that I miss is when I took a trip down to Louisiana, and I
Oh,
got hooked on the food down there big time.
it is easy to do. I was speaking in Hattiesburg, and and I think I ate my weight in all the wonderful food down there. And one of the people that was hosting me said, "Yeah, come on down." She lived right on a bayou. She said, "Come on down. We'll have supper. You bring the beer." So my friend and I brought the beer and sodas and stuff. And she literally came in with a garbage bag, a black garbage bag that she put in the kitchen. And then she came out and we taped newspaper all over the table. And then she came out and rolled down this garbage bag that was full of what we call crawdads.
Mhm.
Crawdads,
Yep.
corn, potatoes, all just Cajuned up. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And we sat at that table and ate and ate and ate. And evidently, she just went by the gas station. She filled her tank up and she got whatever that was, 3, 4 pounds of boil and brought it home, and that's what we ate. Oh yeah, the food is just so good.
Oh, yeah.
I've been really lucky now to have been invited down twice for Hex Fest, which happens in August
Mhm.
in New Orleans. And golly, all I want to do is eat beignets and drink coffee and eat all the seafood I can get hold of.
Yep. That's another place that I'm gonna have to get to as well, down to Hex Fest.
I've had a wonderful time there twice, and it's a well organized festival. Always really good people, really top notch people, good classes, and
Mhm.
yeah, good vending. I mean, it's just really good. And then it's in New Orleans, which is always an exciting city to be in.
Yep. And at least going down during Hex Fest, you're not going down during Mardi Gras. That's the time where you can take the time to really explore the city if you've never been down there before.
Yeah, I was down there this last year in 21, and it just, I mean, New Orleans always feels haunted because it is haunted, but
Mhm.
the staff everywhere you went, you could just see they were exhausted, that they were having to deal with so many deaths and so many porch funerals was a thing that they were doing, and
Yep.
it was heartbreaking to see the people in this exciting, fun-loving city that had been brought down so low by this
Yep.
virus. It was heartbreaking
Um,
because
and
they're
that's
such good people.
oh yeah, and the, the people down there are when we've got a lot of people down there in the pagan community, and those are definitely people that we need to look out for. We need to really kind of um, take care of them the best we can, for
That's
sure.
true everywhere, though.
Yeah, that's true.
We need to spend a little more time working on community and a little less time picking fights with each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's been my whole agenda as well. Is doing what I can to help bring people together instead and doing away with all the bickering. It's like we don't need it.
Yeah, yeah.
We really don't. And that's my been my whole entire goal ever since I started doing this back in 2012.
Wow, have you been doing this since 2012? That's amazing.
Yep. At first it was just something fun to do for me, for the community. But now over the years I've been doing this and developing relationships and friendships with people, not just here in the States, but also over in the UK and other areas. They've all told me that what I'm doing is important for the community.
I often refer to it as weaving community, that we're taking all these different strands and we're making it into something that's stronger than just the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing, if anything can save us, that's what it's going to be.
I agree completely. I truly do.
People
Uh,
will often say to me at festivals, "Oh, gosh, you are so lucky to live in Asheville, North Carolina. Y'all got a strong pagan community and generally accepted." And I go, we built this community brick by brick for
right,
25 years. And before that, we built the bricks. So anybody can have a vibrant pagan community. But
right,
you got to put in the work and you got to be consistent and you got to have the guts to stick it out
right.
and not cut and run the first time somebody interrupts a public ritual and threatens you with a knife, because we have had that happen too.
Oh yeah. Oh, what was it? 2013 when I came back to Iowa from Minnesota, and I was due to be a part of Central Iowa Pagan Pride. Um, we had a disgruntled person who had basically threatened me and also the coordinator. He was going to come to the festival and open fire on us. And we actually had to get the police involved, and it actually escalated to it going to the FBI. And he got brought up on weapons charges and making terroristic threats. And it's like, that was the last thing that we needed. But the good part about it was that we also had the Brotherhood of Steel that
Mm.
was scheduled to be a part of it. They stepped up. They said that nobody's getting at you people without going through us first. So
Wow.
they royally stepped up, and they were going to do everything they could to protect us.
Wow. That's great.
So I was really thankful for having them there with us that year.
They do this amazing thing up at the uh, Pittsburgh, no, Philadelphia Pagan Pride,
Hmm.
where they know they're going to have protesters every year, and so they are always prepared. And one of the things that they do is they have these enormous pieces of reflective material, like aluminum foil shields, basically, and they block the view from of the protesters to the event. And then they have people who play like oompa music. They have those kind of instruments, and it's just amazing to hear somebody playing a tuba, and it drowns out anything these people are trying to say, and it doesn't, and none of it is violent. It's
Hmm.
all very targeted, but it's also very just distractive, which is really wonderful. It's the
Hmm.
best way, because a lot of times what these people want is for some pagan to throw a punch.
Oh
They
yeah.
would love that. They'd love to get that on camera, all these violent, aggressive Satanists doing their worst.
Yeah, but then they get disappointed when nothing happens, and it's like, bye, see ya.
uh, yeah, we've been through it over the years, haven't we?
Yeah, we sure have. And I mean, I hear of protests taking place in different areas, and the one place that I have expected to happen is the greater Chicagoland area, but they've never had any issues.
Really? That's interesting. I wonder
Yeah,
why.
I don't know. Uh, it just kind of surprises me, but they've been doing. I'm good friends with Twyla York, who has been the co-coordinator for Greater Chicagoland, but she stepped down this year so that she can take a break and just kind of be behind the scenes.
Sure. That's an
But,
exhausting job.
yeah, but she explained to me that they've never really had any issues. I'm like, that kind of takes me by surprise, but I'm glad.
Yeah, golly.
But the one thing I do know about, especially in your area, is that people are so close knit.
It it is true, or it was true. We have
Mm,
become this incredibly popular place to be now. So there are a lot of people moving here from somewhere else.
mm,
And
hmm.
some things about that are good and some things about that are not so good.
Yeah, but you still get the people who are originally from that area who are very close knit and where people really watch out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think that anyway. I like to think we still do that.
Well, even though it may not appear that way, I mean, I still get wind of happenings over in that area, and it's like, yeah, I was like, I truly believe it. Um, but yeah, I also hear about other stuff happening too. It's like, which kind of puts a damper on. But I always
Well,
look towards the positive things that happen.
yeah. I mean, our pagan community is pretty close knit. It's the larger community that's having some issues now because the cost of living is high,
Hmm.
and uh, and pay packets are really small. So a lot of people who have been, they could get by with a fairly minimum wage job. They simply can't now because the housing costs are so high, astronomically high.
Hmm.
So
Well,
we're losing a lot of people who've been here for many years, a lot of people in the arts community,
hmm.
and a lot of native Ashevilleans who frankly, simply cannot afford to live here anymore.
Hmm. Which is which is a shame. I mean, I just I can't really understand why that would be happening.
Oh,
But
I can absolutely explain. It's the real estate industrial complex and the
mm,
Tourism Development Authority and the Chamber of Commerce.
okay, that
Yeah,
explains it.
yeah. And multi-level marketing.
Yep. Well, I know the one group that I don't think will ever leave the area, and um, the, it's my good friend Danny Mullick and his wife and two other day. Uh, they are they are definitely native to the area. I don't think they'll ever leave the area. That's their home.
Oh, well, yeah, but now you are making the mistake of thinking that North Carolina and Tennessee are the same when we are not. But yeah, they are. They're hour and 20 minutes away over in Gatlinburg. No, I don't
Oh,
think
that's
they'll
right. They
ever.
are in Gatlinburg. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they'll ever leave there because they love it there. You just have to listen to their music to know that.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, those those folks are down in Florida right now. They're missing this big snowstorm.
Yeah, I know. Which kind of took me by surprise, especially with Danny being injured. And
Yeah,
I
poor
still don't
poor
know how
guy.
the hell he pulled that one. I don't know what he did, but it's like
Well, I'm just going to say it wasn't his fault.
that's
So
good.
you'll need to talk to Danny about that, but it was not his fault.
Yeah, they're due to be on the show here with me soon here, so
Good.
I'm definitely gonna be digging into that a little bit because it really kind of took me by surprise that he was gonna go ahead and go. I'm like, ah,
Oh, he's tough as old boots. And boy, he makes both of us not even look stubborn. He's so stubborn. But they're having a great time at that big Celtic Fest in Florida. And their new CD, for any of y'all that have not heard it yet, it's called Irish Eyes, and it's available at all the places you
Mm-hmm.
get CDs or downloads or whatever. And it is just an extraordinarily beautiful, beautiful CD.
Yes, and they've even come out with vinyl now too.
Yeah, yes.
They're on the same bandwagon that Wendy did back a couple of years ago.
Golly, that's somebody I miss. I'd love to see her. I think we're scheduled at some festival, Wendy Rule.
Yep. Is well, now that she's down in New Mexico, but she traveled back and forth between New Mexico and her home area. But
Right.
she's made that into her home now down there. So now, besides the couple books that you've got going on, and the cookbook that you want to do, what else?
Yeah.
What else you got in the works?
Oh, what have I got in the works? Well, I'm not doing any farming this time of year, which is actually kind of nice. I did a lot of like heavy farming last year. Um, I am, and I guess you know this. I'm the one of the founders and one of the priestesses at Mother Grove Goddess Temple here in Asheville. And
Hmm.
so we're kind of we took the opportunity of not being able to do public rituals to try to retool some of our programming. And one of the things that has been very successful during the pandemic has been our food pantry. And it's not a big food pantry, but our congregations are wonderful. They bring donations to a local store, the Asheville Raven and Crone,
Hmm.
and we distribute the food out of the temple. And that has been uh, such a successful thing. And I will say, since we are a 501c3 church, that it has been a successful ministry of the Mother Grove Goddess Temple. So we're looking to expand that, and we've carved out room in our space for that to bring in more donations and to be able to serve more people. So that's another exciting thing we're doing.
Very cool. That's one thing that I have always wanted to make happen up in this area is to create a space for all pagans to gather for my area. And so far, I've just not been able to find the right place to make that happen. But
Yeah.
you know me, eventually I'm going to do it.
Well, it's very valuable, and we started. This is going to sound bad, but we started doing it because there was a food pantry in the area that would give you a box of food if you were hungry, but you had to pray to Jesus first. And we had some
Mhm.
pretty major objections to that. I mean, it's a faith-based charity, and certainly faith-based charities can do whatever they want to do. But it seemed to me that forcing people who were not of your religion to pray to your God in order to eat, that felt ethically dubious to us.
Mhm.
So we wanted to make sure if people were hungry and they needed food, that we would have food and give it to them. Period. Period. So we
Very,
like to find out, how many people are in your household, just so we know how much rice to give you. But we don't care about your religious affiliation. We have fed Wiccans and Druids and Baptists and all kinds of people,
very
because
cool.
we don't care. We just don't want people to be hungry.
And that's a good thing to do. And really, the one thing that I don't think a lot of people really know that anytime you go to a pagan pride event or a pagan festival, is that they will have a canned good drive or dry goods drive to be able to collect food for a pantry. And I really I really like the idea of having a food pantry for the pagan community and for
Yeah.
people who are not faith based, because yeah, I mean it shouldn't matter. It really should not
No,
matter at all.
no. So that's been a very worthwhile thing that that feels good. But and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel though. If a pagan group has a pantry in their community, a food pantry that distributes and it doesn't have onerous restrictions on people, then you don't need to start your own food pantry. You can gather up food for somebody else's food pantry. That's a
Right.
perfectly decent way to go about it.
Hmm. Exactly. And that brings up a story that this took place back when I was up in Minnesota, when I first came into the community. And that was back in 2003. Um, there was a news article that came out about it was a small community where the local pagans and the local nuns had teamed up and did a um, um, uh, oh, is a breakfast thing, and but they teamed up together to do it for the community,
Nice.
which I mean that took me by surprise because I mean I've dealt with my share of nuns, especially when I was working at Mercy Hospital back when the sisters were in charge of the hospital. And granted, you had to mind your p's and q's when you were working there, um, and especially with Sister Pat, who was in charge. Anytime, anytime you'd be walking down the hall and Sister Pat comes walking at you, it was like the parting of the Red Sea. Because she walked down those halls just like General Patton. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But I got along great with them. But that news article that I read about the local nuns and pagans coming together to serve up breakfast is like that was classic.
I encourage pagan people as much as they are kind of temperamentally um, adept at it to do any kind of interfaith work that's available where you are, because the thing that most people are scared about with pagans is the fact that they think they don't know any. But so many pagans are closeted
Hmm.
that the nurse at the doctor's office could be a pagan, the doctor could be a pagan, your dentist, certainly the cashier at the grocery store could be pagan, and it
Hmm.
really it helps. It does help.
Yep, that's true. And in fact, I just had this conversation uh, with somebody who I just had the pleasure of meeting up with just the other night. As he was having a discussion with my brother Lone Wolf, and I got to talking with him afterwards, and he's from the Boston area.
Mm.
He and I were having the same discussion about that it's time for people to stop hiding. There's no reason for it. And
Well, there are reasons for it. I
yeah,
mean,
there are certain
women
reasons.
lose their
Yes.
children, people lose their jobs, people lose their housing.
Hmm.
And so, depending on where you are, it may not be wise to reveal what your spiritual tradition is.
Yeah,
But
and
if
I
you can reasonably do it, yes, there's no reason to be secretive anymore unless there is a reason.
right. And I mean, yeah, for people out there with who are professionals in a certain field that they don't want to have that revealed. Yeah, I respect that completely. Um, and but I mean, yeah, it's just like what you were saying. If it's reasonable enough to do it, yeah.
Yeah. I used to call, we've had several big controversies here. And I remember one of them that went down in probably the late 90s, early 2000s.
Hmm.
I was very visible, as I am. I mean, I've been an out pagan for decades. And people would see me in all sorts of places like the grocery store, the bank, or whatever. And I would see them reach inside their shirt and pull out their little secret pentacle, and they would show it to me and then tuck it back in really fast. And I felt
Hmm.
sorry for them
Yeah.
because they were not in a place where they could let that freak flag fly.
Yep, I know that. Um, I've always considered myself to be out. That's not a big secret to anybody. But when I had moved back to my hometown here in Iowa, which is only a population of 1,300, and we have, and I've counted them, we have 9 different churches in that small area. And basically, the local newspaper caught wind of my podcast that I do. So basically, they interviewed me and basically outed me to my whole community about what I am. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I didn't mind any because, like I said, I've been out for years, but it became official back in 2013 when I, or excuse me, no, excuse me, it was 2016 when I had moved back home and they did the interview on me. So, yeah, it became official then.
Well, I live in the basically in the same place where I grew up, and I've been an out witch since I was an an early teenager. So 50 plus years of being
Hmm.
out in this community. So everybody pretty much knows who I am who's been here any length of time. I went to see my doctor in 2019, I think. God, this is so funny, Earl. I had I had a growth on my nose. And I'd never really had a wart before, but I was pretty sure I had a wart on my nose. So I went to see the doctor. I was having my annual physical, and he said, "So are you having any problems? You know, like doctors do." And I said, I need you to know, I need you to look at this thing on my nose and let me know and diagnose it. Let me know whether or not it's a wart." So my doctor, who of course knows who and what I am, he rolled back in his little rolly chair and he just looked at me and he said, "The irony of this situation is not lost on me. Yes, that is a wart on your nose. And are you sure you want that removed?" I said,
Oh,
"Yes, damn
man.
it, get this thing off my nose."
I probably would have looked at him. I probably would have, well, yeah. I would say if it would have been anybody else, I probably would have smacked him. But like,
He's a good guy. I really love him. He's a good dog. But yeah,
well,
and he said, "Oh no, I tell that story." He told me recently, "Oh yeah, no, I tell that story all the time. How one of my patients is a witch, and she came in with a wart on her nose. True story."
oh man, yeah, I probably would have been laughing at that too.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. You gotta laugh though, don't you?
Yep.
The world can be so dismal and so joyless that I'm finding more and more. I just have to shrug my shoulders and go, well, I guess I guess it's gonna be okay or it's not, one or the other.
Yep, that's
and
true.
try to find a way to laugh at a situation.
Very true. Now, you folks may not know this. All while we've been talking, she's been multitasking and sewing at the same time,
Knitting.
or knowing. Yeah, knitting.
I'm knitting a nice wool scarf in my favorite color, green.
Nice.
And I knit these for we have a huge homeless population here, so I
Hmm.
knit them and give them to a group that works with the homeless, which is called Beloved Community. And I in the past have knitted scarves um, for a women's shelter in the area. So
Hmm.
anytime I'm sitting down, I'm probably going to be knitting up a scarf and sending it with love to somebody who needs to keep their neck warm.
And Byron is the queen of multitasking.
Oh, I do try to keep busy for sure. Somebody was teasing me and saying, "You have so much energy. How do you do all the stuff you do?" I just said, "Look, I'm not going to live forever. If there's stuff I'm on the downhill side of this thing we call life. I've hit the high part of the hill, and if I've got stuff I want to get done, I need to get it done.
Right.
Because if COVID has shown us nothing else, and I hope lots of people have learned some of the lessons of COVID, but if it's taught us nothing else, is that life is terribly precious and terribly fragile, and that you can be perfectly healthy one day and be dreadfully ill 24 hours later.
Mm.
So none of us should take for granted the fact that we can get out and do. And you are the example of that, aren't you, Earl? That you're building back your strength so you can get your life back the way it used to be.
Yep. And the one thing that the one thing I am pushing myself for, not only to get out and be a part of festival season, but I want to get back to horseback riding.
Oh, I haven't
And
done that in years. It's wonderful.
yes, it is. And I've I've
You
missed
have your
it.
own horse?
No, but I know of places I can go, which is good. Because I mean, I've already had an invite from a local horse ranch about 2 hours west of here. He said I'm welcome anytime to come ride and to help out around the ranch and be a part of it. So, because they also do horse rescue too. So that's one thing I want to get myself back to be able to do. So if I keep going the direction I'm going, I should be able to get there. I'm hoping by next year.
You can do it. I have faith in you. I know how stubborn you are.
Yeah, especially when I put my mind to something. Is I've always had the mindset that if I see something that needs to be done, if I'm seeing that it's not being done the right way, it's like move over, let me do it. That even came down to when I was taking my training as an EMT. Um, I watched one young nurse struggling to even start an IV. I finally got frustrated to the point I said, "Give the damn thing here, let me do it." And granted, I was still just taking my training, and I'm like, "Give it here, let me do it." So I've always had that mindset. Okay, so what people can do to learn more about what you're doing, learn about your books and everything, they can go to your website, which is myvillagewitch.com, right?
Correct. And right now we are renovating the website, but you can always reach me at info@myvillagewitch.com and just send me an email. I am on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all
Mm-hmm.
of those as Byron Ballard. Um, yeah, so you can get me any of those places.
Very
And at
cool.
festivals all over the country.
Yep. Is like I said, if festival season does happen this year, that I know you're going to be traveling, and I'm going to do my best to be traveling as well.
That's right. Have you told people about your fundraiser yet, or have you got the details of that up?
I'm going to be working on getting that put up so that
Okay.
I've already put out an announcement of exactly why I'm going to be doing it, so that people are aware. And that way, once I do get it put out, then I'm going to be encouraging people to share it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I think one thing the pagan community does pretty well is try to uplift each other where we can.
Hmm. Which is something else that I've always loved about the community is that, and the one thing that I've always tried to get people to encourage people to do is stand together, support each other, and learn together.
Yeah, and maybe give your co-religionists the benefit of the doubt.
Hmm.
Get more information before you jump.
Right. So I'm hoping that people take heed to that and really start being able to help support each other, and especially when we can actually get back to gathering together.
Mm-hmm. It seems like we're actually pretty good when we're gathering together. It's uh, when we are separated by that screen right there,
Hmm.
or we can't actually look each other in the eye, that we can get pretty awful.
That's true. Uh, and this is the way that we're having to do things for right now. It's the new normal. But if festival season does happen, I'm hoping it does, then I know it's going to be a huge weight lifted off of people to be able to get together with friends and family again.
Yeah, absolutely. Another place people can find me too is I do an online full moon guided visualization most every month from the Mother Grove Goddess Temple Facebook page. And
Hmm.
then from my Facebook page, usually every month I do a dark moon meditation. So they can also come find me there. And you don't have to be my Facebook friend. I think you just have to follow me. They're public.
Good deal. Okay. Well, we've been spending some time talking and getting caught up with Byron. And again, be sure to visit her at myvillagewitch.com. And then you can also find her on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, pretty much everywhere.
That's it. That's it. That's enough, isn't it?
Oh,
People
yeah.
keep trying to get me on TikTok, and I keep going, I think I'm too old for TikTok.
Yeah, same here. I've had people try to suggest that to me as well. I was like, nah, I'm
Yeah.
good with doing what I am right now. So, and I'm just getting a feel for Instagram. Shoot.
It's been so good to see you and talk to you again, Earl. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Byron, and we'll definitely be staying in touch. And yeah, basically, if I do wind up getting out this year, I'll let you know where I'm going to be at.
Please do. Please do. And I'll announce all the places I'm going to be on all my social media platforms.
Very cool. All right, folks, you've been listening to another edition of Iowa Pagan News on the Prairie Land Radio Network. Appreciate everyone tuning in. And As always, keep everybody safe around you, especially those of us dealing with the cold areas. Stay warm, stay safe, and then hopefully we'll be seeing you out there on the road later on this spring and summer. Pleasant journeys, everyone. Have a good night.